I'm a little frustrated the second half is a different movie.
I have a pitch for an alternate Act 3.
I would love to hear it.
I love Act 3.
Okay. Make sure to leave in the comments #Team Dalton or #Team Sarah.
In 2022, two writers came together to finish what Universal Studios couldn't. A cinematic universe of monster movies called the Dark Universe. After 3 years and 30 scripts, their project was finally completed. Now, in 2026, they're back to attempt what's never been done before, a completely original cinematic universe entirely in podcast form. I'm Dalton DeShane.
And I'm Dylan Roth.
And you are now entering the Pod Universe.
Welcome back to the Pod Universe. This is the show where we are creating the first ever shared cinematic universe of sci-fi movies created entirely in podcast form. I am your deeply depressed host, Dylan Roth.
And I am your terrified host, Dalton DeShane.
And we're about to bring you part 2 of my latest script, Merge Conflict. Hopefully you have listened to or watched part 1. If not, head on over and do that now because we're going to be discussing spoilers from that first half of the script. And this is also not going to make a damn bit of sense unless you've seen the first half.
Yeah, you're coming in halfway through the movie. I also want to reassure everyone that Late Adopters is a comedy.
I reminded myself of that. The thing is, I reminded myself frequently when I work on this, God, this is getting really dark. I'm like, I am so glad that you are doing something silly next time.
Yes.
It's like how I think that Black Lagoon and Phantom of the Phantom were back to back. Now, many have said that that is the peak 1-2 punch of the Dark Universe.
That's
and I
right.
can't promise that'll be the case this time, either in my case, nor will I put that pressure on you. However, that kind of tonal lift often feels great.
Yes,
So,
it is nice to...
and we will probably have a funny guest episode in between.
There's also a bit of that 1-2 punch tonal shift from Stonehammer to Los Alamos,
That's
too.
true. But I like that we kind of have, I've said it before, but I really like the kind of variety we can create in the new format of our show.
And I already have for phase 2 the ultimate tonal shift
Yes.
in my pitches
Yes.
planned that we will talk about.
We can't tell you now.
We can't tell you yet, but I cracked part of that this
I'm
week.
so glad.
I have big plans for 2 of my phase 2 pitches that
I don't think
people will
anything
like.
I have planned for phase 2 will be this dark. But we'll see what happens.
We'll
Since I
see
haven't
what
locked any of that
happens.
in yet.
This is the darkest Dylan pitch, because I would say that Death's Door and Hell on Earth were joint pitches.
Yes. This is definitely my darkest solo writing that I've
Yes.
done. Death's Door brought me to some pretty dark places, but it also had a lot more fantasy elements.
Yeah.
Right? Doomer Gwen is famously the biggest bummer I've ever presented on the Dark Universe.
Yeah.
But the important thing is it, I used to think this as a sort of barometer when I was reviewing films, was if something is depressing, it has to be at least as good as it is depressing.
Mm-hmm.
And otherwise, I don't want to be a part of it. Is it currently as good as it is a bummer?
I think so.
Okay.
I think there is value to the to how much of a bummer it is. Of course, that can still go awry.
It can. I mean, this is the thing. We're talking about what kind of movie is it? Is this the point of the movie where things start to okay, we've reached the darkest point and things are going to start resolving into a plot wise? Are we going to round a corner here, or is this the kind of movie where things only get worse?
I think the promise of more science of the sort of emotional devastation meeting with our sci-fi premise and those two things merging, I think it is very promising.
Okay.
I feel like most of my fears have been put to bed. So now, if I'm disappointed, it'll be in a way that takes me by surprise.
Hey, great. There's nothing anyone likes more than a surprising disappointment. It's the best combo.
No, I'm very much enjoying this. I hope you all are too. And I think we can get right into Act 2, Part 2.
Let's do it. Part 2. It's that same night. Caitlin returns home with Raleigh asleep on her shoulder. She flicks on the light to reveal the mess left behind by Grant's cigarette hunt. She sighs and walks inside. Behind her enters Cheryl. Oh my God.
I warned you it was a mess.
Grant? Honey? It's Mom. No answer. Where could he be?
If he's got his phone on, I can track it. I'll go out and look for him. I just need to get Raleigh's things.
Caitlin hands the sleeping Raleigh off to Cheryl, who cradles him against her shoulder while Caitlin heads upstairs. Cheryl takes a long look at the messy house. Moments later, Caitlin comes back down the stairs with a full backpack. She's ready to head out the door. Cheryl seems frozen.
Are you all right?
No one should have to live through this twice. Hard cut to Grant snapping awake in the passenger seat of a car. It's a gray evening. Rain buffets the windshield, through which we can see a sea of brake lights, like they're in bumper-to-bumper traffic. Grant looks over at the driver. It's Caitlin. They both look tired. He's got stubble going, and she's got serious bags under her eyes.
Come on, don't leave me alone with my thoughts here. It's brutal without music.
Grant straightens up.
Sorry, I didn't mean to doze off. What were you saying?
Nothing, really. I just never realized how much we depended on music until all the streamers crashed. I never should have deleted all my MP3s.
You could try the radio?
Grant scans the radio. A news anchor speaks. Third time the GPS network has been hacked in the past month, as stakeholders try desperately to bolster their encryption against the new Euclidico quantum computer. Millions have taken to social media to complain about difficulty with their daily commutes, but even this inconvenience pales in comparison to the difficulties facing the shipping and logistic industries, which have left groceries rotting in warehouses and drivers stranded on the longest gas lines since the 1970s. Grant looks away out the window. Caitlin takes one hand off the wheel and reaches for his. They share a look of sympathy and solidarity. Someone's yelling outside.
What the fuck do you think you're doing?
I'm sorry, I just need another minute. Caitlin leans forward to try and see what's going on.
Jesus, what now?
I'll go check it out.
Ooh, it's pouring out.
If I'm going to be awake, I might as well be useful.
He gives Caitlin a peck on the cheek and then steps out into the rain. We follow Grant as he walks forward past a few other stopped cars. We can see now that they've been in a line to fill up at the gas station. There are 2 or 3 cars ahead of them, and a lot more behind. At one of the pumps, a meek, flustered man is filling an emergency gas canister while a second man, the driver from the car next in line, yells at him.
You can't do that. 1 tank per customer. It says so right there. You filled your car already. That gas is mine.
Look, I'm sorry to keep you waiting. I'll be done in just a minute. I gotta get all the way to Crescent City by morning. I'll never make it if I have to wait in another 3-hour gas line on the way.
Who fucking who? Every person in that line has been waiting just as long. And every asshole like you who fills an extra tank is one more person in line who has to drive home on fumes.
I hear you. I'm sorry. I don't have a choice. Grant steps into the middle of the argument.
Hey, fellas, what's going on here?
This asshole's taking my gasoline.
The sign says 1 tank per customer.
I'm sorry, but do you work here? Grant scans around and sees the station's lone attendant is busy breaking up a similar argument at one of the other pumps.
No, but...
Then I don't see how this is any of your business. Now leave me alone and I'll be out of everyone's hair in a minute. The desperate driver pulls the filling hose out of his plastic container and puts it back on the hook. See? I'm done. He leans down to pick up the canister, and when he looks up, there's a pistol clicking against his head. He freezes. The angry driver has pulled the gun.
I told you that's my fucking gasoline. Leave it.
Grant puts up his hands and takes a step back.
Whoa, easy, dude. Let's all just take a minute.
Take a minute? I don't think you know what fucking time it is. This prick's about to walk away with what could be my very last gallon of gasoline. Or yours, for that matter.
I'm sorry, but I've got a job waiting up north, and if I don't get there by 9 a.m., they're gonna give it to somebody else.
The station's not empty yet, okay? Let's just let him go.
In a flash, the angry driver bashes Grant in the nose with his pistol. Grant crumbles to the pavement, clutching his face. The angry driver turns the gun back towards the desperate man, who gasps and steps away from the gas canister. Without another word, he starts his car and drives away. A moment later, the station attendant rushes to Grant's aid, followed shortly by Caitlin. Teary-eyed, she helps him sit upright and examines his face. Grant shrugs Caitlin off of him and watches the angry driver empty the abandoned plastic container into his truck. Cut to a little later. Grant sits in the passenger seat of the car, holding a balled-up shirt against his bloody face while Caitlin fills the tank. The pump clicks.
Damn.
He looks up.
What?
The pump's dry. We're a few gallons short of full.
The attendant waves off the remaining line of cars. There are swears and honks as a few of them speed ahead in search of another station. Caitlin gets into the car and sighs, exhausted.
Guess we're lucky to have gotten any, right?
No response from Grant, who glares at her for a moment, then turns away.
Grant?
We match cut from Grant turning away from Caitlin to him turning towards Adam. Grant, nose intact, is riding shotgun in Adam's sports car. Adam grips the wheel with one hand, leaning back in his seat like a movie star. Grant looks far less comfortable in his skin. He pulls a small shard of broken glass out of his scalp, and then compresses the wound with his palm.
I don't understand. Who are you? I see you in my dreams.
Get out of my dreams. Get into my car. Hey, I would dream about me too, but let's not spoil the friendship, huh?
You know what I'm talking about.
And you already know who I am. Come on, don't overthink it. Just start with what you remember, see what gets stirred up. Grant takes a moment.
Your name is Adam.
Got it in one.
We met on a bread line in Oakland.
Keep going.
We talked about baseball. We were wondering if there'd be a season next year.
And there wasn't, or the year after that.
We started planning to meet up in line at the same time so we could wait together. We both needed a friend. Things with Caitlin were getting bleak. All of our plans, marriage, kids, they all seemed impossible now. We could barely feed ourselves. The world was ending. I felt so useless. But you had a different outlook on things.
Flash to Grant and Adam sitting on the edge of a pier, looking across the San Francisco Bay. Behind them, the fully decrepit city of Oakland. Across the water, San Francisco, where a few high floors on a few tall skyscrapers are still lit. There's even a helicopter coming in for a landing on top of one of them. You know why they're up there and we're down here? Well, they don't give a shit, and they never have. They fucked over whoever they had to grab as much as they could, more than anyone could possibly need, we'd say. And look, turns out they did need it. Maybe they sensed everything would come crashing down soon, and they knew that they'd each need a whole country's worth of loot to survive it. Or maybe they were just greedy fucks who couldn't stop. Either way, there they are. The only civilization left. They had it right all along. Grant in voiceover.
So we stopped being civilized.
Cut to two men in black ski masks breaking into a dark but still intact townhouse, guns drawn. Inside, a family of three, a woman, a man, and a child, is in the living room playing Uno by candlelight. They jump to their feet and put their hands up. One of the masked men, Adam, holds a gun on the family while the other, Grant, rushes into the kitchen and rifles through cabinets. Grant finds a shelf full of canned baked beans. He grins and sweeps them all into a canvas bag. The female victim protests.
Please, don't leave us with nothing. We have a child to feed.
I'm sure that seemed like a good idea at the time. Grant rushes back with the loot.
Let's go.
Adam keeps the gun trained on the woman until Grant has passed him and then follows him out. The moment they're both at the door, the male victim bolts after them.
Paul, don't!
Out on the street, which is littered with people with nowhere else to be, Grant and Adam pull off their masks as they sprint away from old Paul, who screams as he chases them. Stop them! The pair runs past the breadline. No one will risk losing their place to intervene. At an intersection, split up! Adam veers down off an alley. Grant keeps running straight. Paul remains in pursuit. Here, Grant runs into a major roadblock as the street leads him into the middle of a mass protest. He wastes precious seconds trying to push his way through before changing course and heading down an empty side street. Paul has gained a lot of ground. Paul gets within arm's length and gets a finger on Grant's shoulder bag. He yanks it off. Its contents go rolling in all directions. Grant nearly trips over a can of beans, then scoops it up and keeps running. Paul, blind with rage, lets the rest of the cans go in favor of catching Grant. He gets a fistful of Grant's sweatshirt. Grant swings around and smashes the edge of the soup can into Paul's forehead. Paul stumbles backwards. Grant dives on him with the can and strikes his head with it. Again and again, the bottom edge of the can is now red with blood. Paul's grip on Grant's sweatshirt goes limp. Grant hits him one more time, then falls backwards, breathing heavily. Adam dashes in from around the corner. Come on, grab it and go! Flustered, Grant recovers as many of the food cans as he can and puts them back in his bag. He and Adam run off, leaving Paul a bloody mess on the pavement. Cut back to the car in the present day. Grant shudders as he recalls this memory. Didn't always go that poorly.
I never thought I could do something like that. Made me so sick I couldn't eat for days.
Pretty ironic, right?
I don't want to joke about this.
Your sense of humor will come back. Give it a couple more days. I've got a pretty sweet path in this universe. You can stay with me until you catch up on your sleep.
This universe?
Do I really have to explain it all to you? You know this all already. Grant looks out the window. The nose on his reflection is bent out of shape. We cut to an exterior shot of Adam's car, and as another car passes by the same road in the other direction, we shift focus to that second car. It's Caitlin. Her GPS is directed to Grant's phone signal. She finds his car parked at a bar with a police car and an ambulance out front.
Oh, God.
She parks haphazardly in front of the bar and hurries towards Grant's car. A police officer stands by, jotting something down in the notebook. Ma'am, is this your car?
It's my husband's. Is he here? Is he okay? He's very sick. He might be disoriented.
Then she sees the other officer taking a statement from a bartender with a bloody, smashed-up face, and the bouncer being loaded into an ambulance with his arm in a sling. Around sunrise, Grant and Adam arrive at a swanky apartment building. Inside, Adam shows Grant into his place, a tech bro bachelor pad with all the trimmings. Want a beer?
Nah, I'm all right.
Come on, have a beer with me for old time's sake. He goes into the kitchen, leaving Grant to look around the living room. There's art on the walls, posters, but no photos of friends or family. Adam returns with a pair of cold IPAs and hands one to Grant. I can't believe I lived without microbrews for 5 years.
If I drink this, will you tell me what the fuck is going on?
Yep, story time. Take a seat. They sit on opposite couches. Adam leans forward, excited to share. Okay, how much do you know about string theory?
Just whatever they cover on Rick and Morty.
That's probably enough. Suffice it to say that you and I come from a parallel universe that splits off from this one a little over 5 years ago. In that universe, a company called Euclidico built a practical quantum computer and let anybody who could afford a subscription have access to it. It took about a week for every secure server in the world to have its digital guts spilled out onto the internet. Everyone's secrets came out, the stock market crashed, and pretty soon countries and companies, even just gangs of hackers, were playing tug of war with the power grid and bank information. I think the nuclear launch codes were in play for a minute there. Any of this ringing a bell?
Yeah, all of it. It's like picking up a book and then realizing I've read it before.
Exactly. That's your brain resolving the merge conflict.
The what?
Hang on, I'm getting there. So, after Q Day, depression hits. Almost everybody's scrapping to survive. You and I become a team. Caitlin doesn't approve. You have a fight, you break up. A couple months later, she's headhunted out of poverty by one of the surviving tech companies who have use for her neurology expertise. She becomes a have, you remain a have-not. Apparently, she still feels bad about it years later because when she's asked to round up a test subject for this new thing she's working on, she reaches out to you, trying to pay the good fortune forward.
And I insist on bringing you in with me.
Because we're a package deal. Adam reaches across the coffee table and slaps Grant on the shoulder. Thanks, homie. Grant chews on this. It's coming back to him. He's got a handle on himself now.
We're not who we remember being, are we? Not really.
No. Our original brains were fried by the device that sent us here. We're copies. Complete personality and memory backups produced through Caitlin's scanning algorithms and then uploaded into the only hardware capable of running it.
Our own brains in another universe. A universe where the quantum computer was never finished and society never collapsed. We're a back door out of the apocalypse, the escape route for the rich and powerful.
An escape route. One of a number of competing products and not one of the better ones. It's all very hush-hush, which is why Caitlin couldn't risk recruiting strangers off the street to be your guinea pigs. Lucky us, right? Here we are in the land of Wi-Fi and hot showers. Adam takes a swig of his beer and gives an exaggerated of refreshment. Anyway, they used some crazy micro wormhole tech to map the saved neural profiles over top of the existing ones, which is, well, it's pretty confusing for the brain, especially if you keep taking blows to the head like that. Adam reaches over and picks a fleck of dried blood off of Grant's forehead. You know that theory that dreams are how your brains reorder themselves, process new information? Seems like they were right on the money there. I slept off my interdimensional bends over a long weekend. Not sure why it's taking so much longer for you.
I have a 3-year-old.
That'd do it. Anyway, you don't have to worry about that anymore. I have some Ambien and a Thomas Pynchon audiobook with your name on it. I'll have you back to yourself in no time. And after that, hey, so long as we play ball with the company that brought us here, nothing but possibilities, brother. Grant takes a swig of his beer and stews. Adam's phone buzzes. I gotta take this. Make yourself at home, Mikasa, etc. We follow Adam as he gets up, pulls a prescription bottle out of his pocket, and tosses it to Grant. Don't take too many. That's the really hard stuff. Adam leaves to take his call on the balcony. We stay on Grant, who pours a couple of Ambien into his palm. He ponders the pills for a moment, then, finally, pops a handful. Cut to the balcony. Adam's on the phone.
Is the asset secure?
Yeah, I got him. I think he's on board. He's about to go down for a long nap. He should wake up right as rain.
Good work. As soon as you're sure he's out, I have another objective for you.
Cut to the other end of the phone. Sitting alone in the boardroom, looking out over the San Francisco side of the bay, is Kinney.
I need you to kill Caitlin Wheeler.
End of Act 2.
The horrors persist, and so must you, an adorable axolotl with cute little hobbies, metal regenerating powers, and big ol' guns. Axolotl with a Gun is an arcade-style tabletop role-playing game about heavily armed axolotls fighting evil robots bent on exploiting their habitat for its precious resources. Each scene plays like a level from old side-scrolling arcade games. Blast your way through swarms of bad guys until your mission is complete and your swamp is safe. Each level is structured around an objective, and you'll build pools of dice using your weapons and hobbies to fight back against the mecha horrors and achieve your goals. And when I say pools of dice, I mean the kind these little dudes could swim in. No, more. Even more. Yeah, that looks about right. But be careful. The more time you spend on land knitting battle beanies and wrecking mecha monsters, the more you'll dry out. Fighting and taking damage further dehydrates your poor aquatic characters, so you'll need a stash of coins to power them back up. Whenever you're low on hydration, bullets, blades, or hobby supplies, you can insert a coin to continue playing and bounce back into the scene good as new. Talk about a one-up. Axolotl with a Gun is funding for Zine Quest February 3rd. You can insert a few of your own coins to pick up a copy of the zine until February 26th, alongside our new companion zine, Axolotl with a Gun, Armed and Dangerous. The companion zine comes with a ton of awesome upgrades, from additional guns and hobbies to pre-written adventures and modifications for GM-less and duet play. Plus, early bird backers get a cool Thanks-a-Lotl sticker. Thanks for watching, and enjoy the game.
Okay, so as you can tell, we've now shifted very much into the sci-fi movie portion.
Yes.
Is it too jagged, do you think, of a transition?
I don't think so. We've kind of ended up in a similar position to Stonehammer.
Yeah.
Where your first half of Act 2 that ends up in Part 1 is tons of exciting rising action. And then we get a really short second half of Act 2 that is just exposition.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, it's the same kind of thing where I'm like, oh, it would be interesting to have these two characters spend a lot more time together, right? It would be good to get to see Adam kind of bringing out more of the Grant that he knows.
Yeah.
To have that be a more long, drawn-out process.
Yeah.
Like they go out on the town, right? They try to pick up on some old habits. Maybe they go on a little coke bender, right? Like, that's something that would be cool and would be a fun thing to put here. But just like in Stonehammer, it's like, I have to bring this in under 18,500 words. And this is like one thing where I can shorthand it. And so I have had this all happen pretty fast.
Yeah, and I actually don't mind the exposition. My only concern really is for the structure of the podcast, not as a movie, but for the podcast.
Right. Is this episode of the pod universe immediately not as good as last week's episode?
Yeah, like, is there a way we can, once you've done something like this, like reorder, and I don't even know if I have an answer to this, but is there a way to reorder some of the Act 2 events just so some of it gets saved for Part 2? Because the other thing is, like, then we end up, like, our episode 1 recording ended up being over 2 hours. This, we're like at Act 3 and it's been 25 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, this is actually already having made a correction to this point, because the flashback to the gas station.
Yes, that was good.
Thank you. Where we essentially establish the moment that Grant's worldview changes. Was originally the first flashback we see after the cold open. Like, originally it was early in the movie.
I like that.
I decided to move it, not only because I felt like it was more interesting for it to be the answer to a question that the audience is building to over time, but also because the back half of the movie was just too fucking short.
Yeah, and I think also leaving the answer to the broken nose until then is good structurally.
Yeah, thank you. That was one thing where I'm like, well, the scene has to, for one thing, is another one of those scenes where I'm like, if you cut it, the movie still works plot-wise. But like with the dad thing, I'm like, this is a really important moment to explain what this all means to the character.
Yeah.
And so I felt like I had to stay. And also, I'm like, I also got to have him break his nose at some point. We've made that promise. Either I get rid of the broken nose thing entirely, or we need that scene. And so I moved it to later in the end to kind of stand for a moment. I added that transition where he turns away from Caitlin in that car and towards Adam in the other, to be like, this kind of explains Grant's relationship to Adam and his breaking away from Caitlin very succinctly, where the kind of person who functions as Caitlin's partner kind of dies in that moment, where he tries to do the right thing on every level and realize that he has, in the context of this world, completely wrong.
Yeah.
And then becomes the person who would see things the way that Adam does. Before Adam, it's not like Adam sits him down at the dock for a nice romantic, chat by the light of the San Francisco Bay and says, here's what you care about now. He has to get there first and have Adam explain it to him. That's how that has to work. So I'm glad I put that there.
Yeah.
But yeah, even with that, this is still like not nearly as meaty. It's still going way faster than I'd like.
One of the things that I like about this, though, and first of all, I didn't mention this before, but I like the broken nose bit because that is a great just visual signifier of the different universes.
Yeah,
And
something that would be in every shot of his face that would help to immediately establish which world we're in.
Yeah. Is it broken nose Grant or is it normal nose Grant?
Yeah.
But yeah, one thing that I like about this is one thing I was wondering at the end of the first episode was whether or not this Adam that we meet would be going through the same thing. And the fact that he's not actually sort of ups the stakes a bit more because it makes it seem like this final merging is a done deal, right? Like for Adam, it just happened over a weekend and now he is fully prime Adam. There doesn't seem to be at this point any like traces of pod Adam left, right? And us as an audience, we're sitting here hoping that Grant is going to find a way to undo this, right? That like Grant is like, we gotta, or that he's like split and he's just got to push that other half out. And now we see someone that's like, oh no, this is a done deal. It's taking a longer time, but like the overwriting is permanent and full. Like, because there's also, we don't know exactly what that machine does. Like, is this going to be a case where he just lives with both experiences? Like Jake in the Dark Tower series for our Dark Tower fans I know we have out there.
Well, at some point, Dalton, we're going to have to do a thing on the bonus pod or something where I read the Dark Tower book by book and we talk about it. Because that really is the closest thing to you doing the Star Trek stuff with me.
Yeah, that's true.
If we did Star Trek TV show, like the kind I actually care about, like we should have done in the first place, and now we'll never do. But
and then at the end you can watch the Dark Tower movie, which is basically Section 31.
You hate it. You hate
fans.
that as much as I hate 31.
Yeah.
But yeah, so one day I'll get those references.
Yes. Those of you who know Jake in The Wasteland, book 3 of the Dark Tower, that is what he goes through. Yeah, like, is this just going to be the case where he kind of lives as both people? And now we know for sure, oh no, like his memories are he's going to be supplanted by his prime self.
Yeah, he now exists as a threat of the worst thing that could happen.
Yes.
And I even picked deliberately actors that kind of look like Dan Stevens and Ben Barnes share a resemblance, but Dan Stevens has like, he's got like sort of a, like almost a grayish blonde hair, and Ben Barnes is like Mr. Square Jaw, jet black, like stubble guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if Ben Barnes is probably best known in our audience as playing like the main antagonist the first season of Marvel Netflix, The Punisher. He also is Prince Caspian in the now defunct Chronicles of Narnia movie series.
Yeah.
And bunch of other stuff. He's just, he's a pretty standard menacing hunk, I would say. But you put the two of them next to each other, it almost does have a kind of a Dark Mirror look to them.
The one thing that I am torn on is now that we also see that moment at the gas station, it's also clear to us now that Grant isn't irredeemable. And I think that's good, right? Because it is the same person with only a 5-year difference. And so he's had different experiences. And so I think you're playing it very realistically, where this is a Grant that has just been through very different things and is much more afraid and maybe a little rougher. But I think seeing that moment at the gas station, we can also see, well, it is though still Grant under there.
Yeah.
And so that does also, while at the same time our stakes are getting raised by the fact that this is complete, they also get deflated a bit because it's like, oh, well, even if he does get replaced, how bad is that? Like, how bad is that for Raleigh and Caitlin? Because ultimately, he could assimilate into this world, and perhaps still learn. And like, because the conditions of this world aren't as desperate, perhaps he could learn to still be a father to Raleigh, and it would still be a tragedy because we lose that Grant that we've grown to love. But it's not like, oh, he's a serial killer.
Well, this is why we need to create the external threat to Caitlin, right?
Yes, I think
because there was in my earliest conception of this story, Grant becomes the antagonist of the film by the third act, and like Caitlin has to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
Like he becomes like unrecognizably evil, and he becomes a monster that has to be put down.
Yeah.
And that ended up not being the movie that I wrote. As you can see, like I don't mind telling you how that version ended, because clearly that's not the path that we're headed down right now.
Yeah.
Because I mean, ultimately, part of it comes down to the same thing. We talk about this being kind of like my Jekyll Hyde. I believe very strongly in the idea that good and evil are actions and not attitudes.
Sure.
Now, we're living in a time right now where you can look at a lot of people's actions and say, you'd have to be fucking evil to do or support this, right? And so, how strong is my feeling about this nowadays? I don't know. But if I'm dealing with an individual character, I really don't want to be a thing like, oh, you've turned evil. It's like, no, your conditions have changed. And that means if your conditions change again, what does that mean for you? Now, Adam is a character whose conditions, I don't have a firm answer in this story as to what the difference is between Pod Adam and Prime Adam. And you can sort of assume that maybe there isn't much of one, or at the very least that Prime Adam doesn't care, right? We go into the apartment, there's no family photos, right? The stakes aren't the same for him. So for him, it's like, oh, great, here I am, I escaped. This other guy, who fucking cares? Here I am, right? Now, has Adam always been that guy? Maybe, but that's part of the question that we're posing to Grant about himself, about his father. What does it mean for you to now exist from this point on with whoever you've become from now?
Yeah. I think my worry, and we'll see how this plays out in Act 3, is that the threat is going to change a little too fundamentally, because we spent so much really great time in part 1 establishing this fear of what's happening to Grant and what that means for his family.
Mm-hmm.
That like he is becoming violent towards his family. He's cursing at them. He's becoming angry. And we're coming to learn this Grant that we love is losing himself in favor of this like villain. And I'm worried that we're going to very quickly be like, well, that's a done deal. And, it's actually not that bad. And now the bad guy is Adam and the killing. And like, because it's almost like the promise that we build up with Act 2 is this is our conflict. Through all of this like pain that the audience is going through, the conflict is, can we save this version of Grant? And can we save this family? And then to come into part 2 and be like, no, we can't, but maybe we can save Caitlin from getting killed by Adam. Like that almost feels like a bait and switch.
Okay. I can't argue with that. We'll see. I want to see how you feel about it when we're all through the end of it. That is the kind of thing where like, no, I definitely, I rewrote this third act a lot. Like I said, this is the script where I had made enough changes where it's like, I can't fuck with this anymore until I hear from somebody about what's working, what's not working.
What's really, like that first half really works. And if it didn't work on such a deep like, I don't know if I said this on air after we stopped recording, I'd had a very emotional response to that first half. And I want that response to be for something. You want that knot in your gut to get untied and not to be like, forget about that knot, here's a new one, Okay. And that's what I'm worried about. Especially, also, I don't know if it's supposed to be clear, but my initial thing is, why would Kenny want to kill her if she's clearly developing something important to him?
You'll get those answers.
I'm sure that'll get answered in Act 3, but I think mostly my reaction to that end of Act 2 is like, why? I don't get it, and obviously I don't want her to be killed, but I'm not really understanding what's at play here. And maybe what's at play ties very much into that first half and it'll all be fine. But that's my fear right now, is like that we're switching threats at the last minute to a character we don't know very well.
That's the other thing.
I would just showed up.
I would like to have a lot more of Adam in the first half of the movie. It was just a matter of the first half of the movie just at the moment had too much, and I did not know what to cut.
He's also the thinnest character, right? Like he is You know the Lost episode of Hugo in the of Hurley in the mental hospital, and he has the imaginary friend that like keeps telling him to like eat junk food and try to escape.
Do you feel like that?
Yeah, it feels like he's just like the figment of the imagination that's like, come on, be bad. You know, like everyone else is very fully realizing you understand where they're coming from. They have these deep things, and it's like Adam, I know what his purpose is, but he's just he's the devil on the shoulder.
Right. And I am, even actually, as I was performing the character, I was realizing how much more heightened and cranked up this guy is on every level, which is not to say that that's not a realistic kind of person, because here we are, but it does feel like the tone of the movie completely changes in that way when he arrives, and I don't think I've resolved that, because I think that there is sort of an action movie vibe genre, like a sort of, this is the kind of thing where like if this was like, if I was reviewing this as a Marvel movie, it's like, oh, it's this really interesting movie, and then in the last 40 minutes it becomes a Pod Universe franchise spectacular. That is kind of the fear that I'm having realized in front of me right now as I'm reading Adam. It's a lot of fun, but should I be having a lot of fun? Is that too much fun for this movie right now?
I think that Adam is fun in that Dylan Roth character sort of way, in that he's very chatty and like has good jokes and stuff. And I think that would be fine if, again, he's like a functional character. He is the character that is the devil on the shoulder, and he gives this exposition dump. But if he is going to now become very central to our conflict, he feels so much thinner than the other characters. I don't really care about him on that level, right? I care about him as a sort of plot device pushing Grant in one direction. But if now he becomes this is also kind of a very Marvel issue, is like our third act villain reveals himself, and it's like, oh, I don't care about that guy, and that's, if we're going to shift focus from Grant's struggle to him, I lose a bit of interest that I had.
My hope was / maybe still is, although I've kind of lost this hope now, is that Adam showing up here gets to kind of take the place of having the fully evil Grant to be afraid of, and that we get to see him as the fully evil Grant that would be. But
he's not Grant.
He's not Grant, because he's like lively and fun and joking all the time. Grant's just kind of a guy who's nice, and we like him, but he's not a caricature. He's a character, and Adam does kind of feel like a caricature right now. There's a little bit more to him, I think, that we're going to get into, but I think it might be too big to land with the rest of this. Again, it is really funny that we split the movie at that point. We're going to this other episode, and these two halves might be really hard to reconcile.
Yeah, this is, the more we talk about it, the more the more I try to project where we're going, I'm like, oh, this is feeling very different than the movie that was promised in part one. Yeah,
because we are, I think you can probably sense this, we are kind of having a little bit of an action finale.
Yeah, and we're kind of having a merge conflict between these two halves.
Yes.
In that, it's I see what you mean about him sort of taking the place of Grant, but we've spent like an hour and a half really getting to care about Grant.
Yeah.
And the internal and again, like the central metaphor of that first half that's so terrifying is this: I'm being replaced by this disease I don't understand. Moving it to a different guy is a fundamentally different threat. It is not an internal threat anymore. We're kind of saying, well, that internal threat is resolved and it's an external threat. And that is
that's very deflating.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that's not going to kill the whole value of the third act for you as we're reading it, or for you listening and watching at home. But yeah, like as we're talking about it, as we're discussing it, like, no, I've got some regrets right now. We haven't even finished the script. I got some regrets about it. It's the difficulty also, as I think I might have run into a little bit of the problem that I had with Night of the Living Dead back on the Dark Universe, which is things are so fucking bleak in the world right now that I think there were limits to how dark I wanted the end of this story to be.
I don't know if I'll save this for after Act 3, because there was one single line in there that for me unlocked a vision of how I thought the rest of this was going to play out.
Okay.
And maybe it still will. I'm going to save it for after Act 3. I do want to say I am very grateful for one aspect of this, which is that you have really explored how dark and nasty and horrible the Prime universe is right now, which very thankfully frees me up to just focus on the stupid aspects.
Good.
Because
that was something I was hoping to do, because if this is actually, I'll tell you all at home that this is a situation where I would occasionally just like text Dalton for details about stuff that we're going to be in, that so I could plant some stuff for you ahead of time.
I let you know also, sort of what the world looked like.
Yes. And I didn't want to contradict it. And I thought it would be good, like mention this company Euclidico that is something that's in your next script. I just asked, give me just a kind of a bare bones idea of what this looks like.
I sent you the cold open, actually.
Yeah, and I read that, right? So the idea being that, like, if you know how, like, when we wrote House of Dracula, right? And we left Jack Griffin in that terrible sort of spot. And you intended to follow that up with kind of a much darker story.
Yeah.
And then when I got to resolve a little bit of that, it was in a much sillier episode.
Yeah.
That because the tone of that story was so different, it allowed us to speed run a lot of his character growth towards the next story. This kind of gets to do that a little bit for you, where I get to set up this grim and dark universe, and we get to establish how bad it is. And now you kind of can skip the part of your story where you have to establish how grim it is, and you can just have fun.
Yeah, I have been thinking, I was like, man, I guess I should make room in this for like some sort of reflection on like the actual horrors of this apocalypse, and not just all the stupidest consequences of this Q-Day stuff. And now it's kind of all in this movie. And that is very liberating for me.
Good. That should be a benefit of the structure that we're doing. I'm also really hoping, just because of the kayfabe of it all, and also because theoretically, I would really like to be able to promote this show to people who want to jump in at any time and not have to listen to the beginning if they want to. I kind of hope that I have given enough information about the pod universe and the premise of our show in the context of this story that it should all fit, and no one's like, and if anybody has but what about, it's like, oh, it's okay, you can listen to pod people and you'll know.
So far, I think I hope this will this will definitely continue with late adopters, because it's all set in a universe we haven't explored much yet. I think all of our phase 1 episodes could be someone's first entry into the pod universe, and they wouldn't be confused.
Let's try to keep that going as long as we could, because Marvel kind of, once you got to phase 3, almost no movie was like that.
Yeah. We'll see how long we can.
Yeah. I mean, the Dark Universe, pretty much nothing from phase 2 on worked that way.
Well, we had a few. I think you could come into
Black Lagoon, Kill Your Darlings.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
We had a few that were like first of a franchise that I think you could come into. But I think we can go to an ad, and then let's see how this all resolves, and see if my one idea gets realized, or
cool. We got to make sure you remember to talk about it.
Yes.
All right. Now to hear from one of our sponsors. We'll be right back.
What a great podcast. Listeners, I'm sorry for interrupting it. My name is Chris Anderson. I'm one of the hosts of Your Favorite Bad Movie Podcast. Every week, we bring a guest on to talk about one of their favorite bad movies. I wanted to tell you guys about it specifically because we had Dylan Roth on the show recently. Isn't that right, Dylan?
Absolutely.
I'm just kidding. That wasn't Dylan live. That's a clip of him on our show, laughing and agreeing. If you want to laugh and agree, tune in to his recent guest spot where we discussed M. Night Shyamalan's Old. Or listen to any of our other great episodes. We've got guests like Merritt Kay, Gretchen Felker Martin, Lucy Valentine, so many more. Your Favorite Bad Movie Podcast. The only podcast that's brave enough to ask the question, if this movie's so bad, why do you like it so much? That's Your Favorite Bad Movie Podcast, available on all your preferred podcast platforms.
Act 3. Cut to Caitlin, standing over Raleigh as he sleeps on a cot that's been set up for him in Cheryl's house. Caitlin wipes a tear from her eye and then leaves the room, closing the door softly behind her. She walks down the hall to the kitchen where Cheryl sits, drinking hot tea and looking at an old photo album. Caitlin stands on the other side of the kitchen, looking down at her. I should have stayed with him. I should have known he wasn't himself. You'd think, after all the experience I have with this, I could tell when someone's masking. I could have prevented this.
I don't know that you could. You should have seen what he did to that bartender. Cheryl, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can do what you've done.
Cheryl looks up as if she'd been accused of something. Instead of saying something biting, she sits back in her chair and sips her tea, stalling for a thought. You want to know the truth? I think I always knew Artie could do something like that. He was never good at taking no for an answer. Not that I gave him that answer often. I mean, look at him. I was so crazy about him. Cheryl studies a picture of herself and Artie in their 30s. Lookers both. But I think maybe I was a little scared of him too. That's just the way it is with men, I suppose.
It was never that way with Grant. Not until this started.
A few of Cheryl's tears landed on a laminated photo. Caitlin sits down across from her and takes her hand.
You raised a really good man, Cheryl. The best. I just don't know if I can watch him be erased like this.
Something dawns on Caitlin.
Not erased. Overwritten.
She gets up from the table and hurries into the hall to fetch her coat. Cheryl follows. Caitlin, where are you going?
I have to go to the lab. There's some scans I need to look at. I need to make this right.
Scans of Grant? Honey, I know you're scared right now, but you can't hold yourself responsible for what's happening to him. Caitlin wraps herself in her coat and starts out the door.
I think maybe I can.
Cut back to Adam's apartment, where Grant is settling in on the couch. Adam walks into the room and plots himself on the chair nearest to him. He resumes drinking his beer. Man, I don't know how to thank you for bringing me along. Kate would never have invited me if it hadn't insisted. She hates me, which hopefully will make my next job easier.
Next job?
I'll tell you later. I don't want to get cold feet.
Adam, come on. It's me.
Oh, fine. You know I hate keeping secrets from you. And you're just going to find out later anyway. Cut to Caitlin behind the wheel of her car, talking on speakerphone.
I know how insane it sounds, but the timing of it all, the specificity of the replacement memories.
Cheryl replies over the phone. Caitlin, I think you're reaching.
Grant said the end of the world was brought on by a quantum computer, the exact tool I would need to implement the next stage of my neural network transfer. And when I told my boss I had no way of testing it, he acted like he already had it covered. What if he did?
Hang on. Grant's symptoms began before you even started your new project. How could he be the test subject for something that didn't exist yet?
I don't know, okay? But if there's any proof of any of this, it'll be at the lab.
Back to Adam and Grant. So, in this universe, Caitlin was hired to build the brain mapping, body swapping tech that brought us here by some sort of low rent operation that was trying to pirate their way into this universe. Before we went into the machine, I was contacted by a guy representing a much bigger company called Alter. They offered me a great life here so long as I memorized a certain phone number and called as soon as I got here. And as a little down payment, we flashed to Adam rolling up to pick up Grant in the flashy Cadillac Escalade.
Jesus, Adam, who'd you steal this from?
Nobody.
Sure.
Back to Adam's apartment. They gave me one here too. Sweet, right? We should take a ride later. Anyway, when I got here, I found out this universe is Alter's creation, their property. They've been having some headaches with their own dimension hopping technology, and they want to make sure they control all potential methods of traveling here from our universe. So, to sort of outflank their competition, they gobbled up the company that employs this universe's Dr. Caitlin Wheeler and put her on a similar project hoping to reproduce the results. They got what they wanted, and now they want to protect their IP. So, Adam performs an and so on and so forth gesture.
So, what?
So I got to kill her. Grant springs to his feet. What?
I'm not going to let you murder my wife.
Adam stands up more casually. Bro, she isn't your wife. She's an alternate universe copy of your ex-girlfriend. You know, the one who dumped you for trying to keep her from starving to death. Look, we got a good thing going here. So long as we do a favor for the company every now and then, we can live like kings here, in a world actually worth ruling. You want to jeopardize that for a woman who rejected you and some kid who isn't even yours? Grant roars and takes a swing at Adam. Adam parries it and strikes him hard in the face with his elbow. Grant crumbles. His nose is broken. We see static. Are you fucking serious? I stuck my neck out for you. You know they wanted me to shoot you on sight, but I told them we're a package deal. Grant struggles to his feet, grabs Adam's legs, and tries to take him down. Adam kicks him away. Grant's head bangs against the corner of the coffee table. More static. Give it a rest, man. I taught you every move you know. Maybe you could have taken me in our world, but, well, your dad bod isn't exactly built for this. Adam's phone buzzes. Hang on a sec. He opens a notification and sees a live security feed of Caitlin entering the laboratory. He looks from his phone back down at Grant, clinging to consciousness, then back at his phone again. Shit. I'm sorry, man. This can't wait. Look, I'll help you get cleaned up when I get back, okay? Hopefully between the Ambien and the whooping I just gave you, you should be out a good long while, and when you wake up, you'll see things my way, okay? Don't go anywhere. Adam rushes off. Cut to Caitlin at her desk, pouring through scans of Adam's brain, typing frantically at her keyboard. Cut to Adam driving down the highway in his sports car, stereo blasting. Cut to Adam's apartment. The sun is rising in the windows. Grant struggles to his feet, a bloody mess. His vision is blurry. He's fading. He slaps himself in the face, trying to stay awake. Finding his balance, Grant shambles to the bathroom, sticks his fingers in his throat, and vomits. Cut to him splashing water on his face. He looks at himself in the mirror. His nose is broken on both sides of the glass now. He rushes into the hall and rifles through a bowl of keys until he finds a key fob with a Cadillac logo on it. Cut to Grant in an underground parking lot, frantically running the aisles and clicking the button on the key fob until one of the trucks honks and flashes its lights. Cut to Caitlin, laying two highlighted diagrams of Grant's brain over top of each other, seeing that a small scattering of anomalies in the first have expanded in the second. She's startled to hear footsteps in the hall outside, slow and confident. She pokes her head out of her office door and sees a tall figure walking down one of the hallways. His voice echoes down the hall. Jolene, 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 Jolene. I'm begging of you, please don't take my man.
Hello?
The figure, still too far to make out, raises one arm. Bang! A bullet strikes the wall just next to Caitlin's head. She screams and ducks back into the exam room. Inside, she puts her back to the door. Out in the hall, Adam steps out of the shadows holding a pistol. Jolene, 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 Jolene. Inside, Caitlin sits on the floor back to the door, terrified. Adam kneels on his side of the door and presses both his ear and the muzzle of his pistol against it. Please don't take him just because you can. We cut to a split view, each of them leaning against the door. Adam tries to key in on the sound of Caitlin's manic breathing. He slides the business end of the pistol around the door until he's lined it up to her head. He talks about you in his sleep. There's nothing I can do to keep from crying when he calls your name, Joe.
Adam!
Before Adam can turn his head or pull the trigger, someone grabs his collar from off screen and throws him across the hallway, slamming him against one of the servers lining the halls. It's Grant, of course, looking like hell but determined to stand his ground. As Adam climbs to his feet, Grant grabs his arm and slams it against the server behind him. Adam's gun falls between them. They wrestle over it, and in the scuffle, it is kicked down the hall, out of either of their reach.
Leave us alone, Adam. I just want to go home.
I'm your home, you selfish piece of shit! You would have starved to death if it wasn't for me. And now that we can finally start living life instead of just surviving, suddenly you're ashamed of me? Get over yourself! You're damaged goods just like me. You understand you're not her husband. You killed her husband. You killed that boy's father. Grant blinks. Adam charges. They fight. First like seasoned street brawlers, but gradually devolves into a messy, graceless wrestling match. We stay tight on Grant and Adam as they grapple on the floor, clawing at each other, too close to land anything but hooks to the ribs. It's a violent embrace. We see the door to Caitlin's exam room crack open. Caitlin peeks out. Fully absorbed in their grappling, Grant and Adam take to their feet. Grant Irish whips Adam into one of the servers. Its metal case clatters and sparks fly as Adam's back smacks into it. Grant throws a haymaker. Adam ducks and Grant's fist hits the metal hard. He recoils. He may have broken something. The server's shell has bent off its hinges. It clatters to the ground, exposing hot electrified circuitry. Adam charges Grant, hooks his arm around Grant's chest, lifts him, throws him to the ground in a power slam. You ungrateful piss baby! You think I want to do this? It was supposed to be you and me painting the new world red, together! We were a package deal! Grant knees Adam in the groin. Adam howls and rolls off of him, then grabs his knees, lifts him off his feet, and charges him into the busted server. Grant's head collides with exposed circuits. He screams. We get a quick flash of static as Grant's fragile mind sputters. They're both dazed, but Grant's had the worst of it. Adam rolls back onto his feet, staggering for balance. What are you gonna do? Stay awake forever? Adam punts Grant in the head. More static. A flash of Raleigh's face on the playground appears in the sparks of the sputtering server. You're clinging to something that's already gone! Adam drops to one knee, exhausted. Guess I am too, huh? He takes a breather, then looks around on the floor. Now where's... He looks up and finds the barrel of his pistol pointed at his head. Behind it is steely-eyed Caitlin. Oh, that's funny. You're gonna kill me now? Miss Goody Two-Shoes? You couldn't. You never understood. Caitlin cocks the pistol and fires. The sound of the gunshot rings through the hall. Adam falls. Caitlin lowers the gun, exhales, then drops it. Below, Grant starts to shake, then vomits. Caitlin quickly turns him onto his side. He coughs, spits, gasps for air.
Grant, it's okay. Just breathe, baby.
I can feel it. I can feel it coming apart.
I know what's been happening to you, Boo. It's all my fault. I'm so sorry.
Grant shakes his head as best he can.
No. Kate, I've made my own choices.
I shouldn't have left you. Not there and certainly not here. None of this would have happened.
You don't know that. We can never know what we would have done or who we would have been if we'd lived a different life.
Grant holds out his hand. Caitlin clasps it in hers.
But I know who I want to be now.
He looks up into her eyes.
And I'd like to show it to you.
Cut to Caitlin helping the wounded Grant onto the bed of the modified MRI scanner. He looks up at her cheerfully. She squeezes his hand, then takes one more long look and goes to her desk. Caitlin looks at the screen. Warm light dances around in his brain. A long string of data is entered alongside.
Okay. Let's get a baseline reading. Something from both timelines. How about our first date?
We see a brief but totally clear flash of Caitlin waiting at a table in a bar, looking at her phone impatiently. She looks up and in stumbles Grant, a sweaty mess, obviously late. Caitlin cracks up. They laugh together, the tension broken. Match cut to Caitlin laughing in the lab as she sees that familiar warm activity in Grant's scans. She flicks a tear out of her eye.
Now something that only happened in this universe. Do you remember our wedding?
The lights dim significantly, but there's still a soft red glow.
No. I'm sorry, that's still gone. But I can imagine it.
We flash to a wedding, but not the same wedding we flashed back to earlier. The details are different. The venue, the wardrobe. But Grant and Caitlin are dressed up, smiling on the dance floor, surrounded by family.
Did we have a live band, like we used to talk about?
My cousin's band played.
In the chamber, Grant smiles. Caitlin smiles too as the lights in his head dance a little more. The imagined flashback in Grant's mind updates. Now there's a band playing, having a great time.
Your dad went up and sang, "I Can't Help Falling in Love with You."
Grant and Caitlin slow dance across the floor. We see Artie on the stage crooning. We cut to Caitlin watching Grant scan. Colors are growing brighter.
Tell me about when Raleigh was born.
We flash to a classic maternity ward room with Caitlin sitting up, pushing as Grant holds her hand beside her.
It was an emergency C-section. They brought us to an operating room. There was blood all over the floor by the end.
The flashback becomes blurry.
I'm sorry, I can't picture it.
In the lab, Caitlin closes her eyes, exhales, composes herself.
That's okay. What's the first memory you have of Raleigh?
We see a flurry of images of Raleigh from the past few weeks, including the disaster on the steps, before finally landing on a moment in the playground. Raleigh is going up and down a tall slide, beckoning him to come play.
Daddy, come up here.
In the flashback, Grant sighs, a little exasperated, but also smiling, entertained. He gets up and climbs up the slide. They sit at the top of the ladder, Raleigh in his lap.
Ready?
3, 2, 1, go!
They slide down together, laughing. In the lab, Caitlin watches the warm glow develop in Grant's brain scan. Rows of data continue to appear beside them. Caitlin laughs, eyes wet.
Is it the same as it was the first time?
No, but that's okay. It's you. I can see you.
Under the scanner, Grant smiles.
Save it for me.
At her desk, Caitlin saves the brain scan. Goodkin G 0402 2026. A moment later, the lights on the brain scan begin to dim.
Grant?
Caitlin watches as the colors on her screen fade away peacefully, like an aurora at dawn. Fade to black. Mid-credits scene. Cut from black to Caitlin walking through the quiet parking lot of a grocery store around sunset, holding Raleigh by the hand. They approach their car on the driver's side. She unlocks it and loads Raleigh into his car seat, gets into the driver's seat and sighs. It's been a hard day. She's about to press the car's start button when someone says, muffled by the car window,
I wouldn't do that if I were you.
Caitlin is startled. She looks out the driver's side window. A young woman is leaning over to talk to her. We're looking over her shoulder, not seeing her face. We swoop to the other side of the car, which wasn't visible earlier to us or to Caitlin. Someone's legs are sticking out from under the car as their owner examines the undercarriage. He scoots out and stands up. Now we're seeing him from behind, the woman's face still out of view. Cut to inside the car. Caitlin looks out the passenger side window. A man holds something up to it. It's a C4 explosive.
Whoa.
Caitlin opens her door and leaps out of the car, immediately rushing to Raleigh's door.
Hey, it's okay. I disarmed it.
We look up over the hood of the car as the man walks around and into view, both his hands up, albeit with one of them holding an explosive device. Now we see his face. It's Vincent Estrella, portrayed in the film by Justice Smith.
You and your son were a split second from becoming a true crime podcast.
Caitlin whips around to look at the young woman, Stephanie Lee, portrayed in the film by Chase Suey Wonders.
The big wigs at Alter think you know too much. They want you gone.
And they usually get what they want. But if you come with us, we can keep you and your little guy there safe.
Caitlin pulls Raleigh out of his car seat and holds him close. She stares down her mysterious saviors.
Who are you? What's going on? It's an invasion. And we, Dr. Wheeler, are the motherfucking resistance.
Cut to black. Dr. Caitlin Wheeler will return in War of the Worlds. Post-credits scene. A man in a sharp suit stands in an empty boardroom looking at a large flat-screen TV showing security footage from the shootout at Caitlin's lab. A nondescript underling approaches him with caution.
Sir, wet work team just called. Caitlin Wheeler escaped. They think she's been recruited by Vincent Estrella's faction.
The man turns around. It's Kinney. He doesn't look terribly bothered by the news.
Well, that's unfortunate, but it at least means she'll be on the run and less likely to make trouble with the press. See if you can connect them to Lee and Estrella in the press. That should torpedo her credibility if she tries to share her story.
Kinney looks back at the monitor. One of the many open windows is a mirror of a remote desktop showing a file transfer in progress.
In the meantime, we have all of her research. We should be able to reproduce the technology that her Prime Universe counterpart used to send her husband here.
We slowly zoom in on the file transfer. The names of the files being uploaded from Wheeler Lab 1 to Prime Server go by one.
And who knows? Maybe we'll find something else useful in there.
A massive file transfer begins. It's labeled Goodkin G 0402 2026. Cut to black.
Hey, everybody. So you may have heard us talking about how studio mandates are going to change. And some of you who are not patrons might be saying, what's a studio mandate? That is when we let patrons at a certain tier level decide what movie we are going to pitch a remake of on the bonus pod. So people have picked things, if you've listened to our free bonus eps like Into the Woods, where then we watch Into the Woods and we pitch what a Dark Universe remake of that might be. So you get to pick a movie, decide whether you want it in the Dark Universe, the Pod Universe, the Courtroom Universe.
I don't know what that is, but we will honor it.
I don't know what that is, but we would honor it. And we have to do it. But the problem is we've been getting a backlog, so we have changed how it works. And I want to take a second to explain the new rules. So basically, every month, on the day that a new bonus pod comes out, anyone who is a studio executive, meaning they are paying at the $25 a month level, gets to nominate a film. So everyone who's a studio executive nominates a film, and then we put that list in the Discord. Everyone in the Discord at the $8 or higher level gets to vote on what they want to see us do a studio mandate of. Whichever one wins, we do it the next month. And we do this every month. So every month, bonus pod comes out, submit your nominations at the $25 level. Everyone at $8 or higher votes. The winner gets pitched. It's just that simple.
And just to be clear, everybody at the $5 level and up also still gets the episode.
Yes.
So it's $5 gets you the bonus pod, $8 gets you a vote on what we're talking about, $25 lets you nominate one of the things that people vote for.
That's right. And also, you can campaign in the Discord, try to get yours picked, and everyone can discuss. We've made the discussion channel open to all patrons, so you can discuss what movies you want people to vote for. You can try to rally people to your cause.
Yeah, you can lobby for your pick, which I think should be fun.
In the meantime, we have a backlog of studio mandates from the last couple of years. So for the time, so going forward, starting in March, we're going to be doing 2 studio mandates a month. One is the one voted on in the Discord, and the other is from our backlog. So you'll get 2 pitches per month on the bonus pod.
Until we're caught up.
Until we're caught up. So if you like the pitches that we do, if you want to hear more pitches, become a patron, and you can just listen to us decide, how Spider-Man would fit into the Dark Universe, because I think that is one we have coming up.
Yes.
So join us over at patreon.com/Dylan and Dalton. All of these rules are also posted in more detail in the Discord. And we do have a 7-day free trial. So if you just want to join the Discord, see what everything's about, and then choose what tier you sign up for, go ahead and do that.
Yeah, now's a great time to join the Patreon because there's just so much going on. And we also have that week off kind of built in now in our schedule that is going to... So if you still like having 4 things a month from us, that's one way it can happen. But don't worry, we are being very careful never to give the free audience 2 consecutive weeks with no stuff. That's pretty important to us. We don't want to make anybody feel like they're getting less.
Yeah,
but there is more to enjoy, and we're pretty proud of it. So yeah. Anything else you want to add about that, Dalton?
Nope. Back to the episode.
Okay, we're back, joined by our cast member Sarah Norcross here on the couch. To look back at merge conflict now that we've finished the script. First things first, Sarah, you said you had a question.
And I'm afraid I'm about to sound really stupid. What happened to Grant? Why did he die?
Oh, he just got the shit beat out of him, is all. He took a lot of blows to the head. Listen, you don't sound stupid. If it's not clear in the script, that means that it's not clear in the script. That's a me problem, not a you problem.
I thought
it wasn't super clear to me either.
Okay, I couldn't tell how much time had passed between the fight. I couldn't tell how badly he got beat up during the fight. Like there wasn't like a singular bad blow. And so I thought
they were rebuilding his memories to like go forward.
And that like his brain like over I don't know.
Okay. Well, that's a me problem.
Glitched out
for sure.
and you died. Okay.
Thank you for asking, because now I know that it doesn't work.
I feel a
my
lot better
big thing
now.
I'm just going to anticipate is thing that I'm displeased with, especially how well the first half was received by you in the room. I'm a little frustrated the second half is a different movie.
I have a pitch for an alternate Act 3.
I would love to hear it.
I love Act 3.
Okay.
It did not feel like a different movie to me. Like I heard you guys talking about that down here while I was upstairs. And I think I heard someone say something about it like being a jarring change. I did not personally find that, at least in podcast form.
Okay. Well, let's do something fun. Let's hear Dalton's counter pitch, and then before I say anything, Sarah, I'd like to hear what you think about the counter pitch.
Okay.
So here's my counter pitch. Yeah, we have a third person now. So if we disagree, then the fans can decide who's who they're siding with.
Make sure to leave in the comments #Team Dalton or #Team Sarah.
But okay, so here's what we were talking about was the setup of Act 1 really being an internal struggle with Grant, and then suddenly Adam becomes sort of our villain, and that feels like a bit of a bait and switch. I think the other thing that's missing for me from Act 3 is that Raleigh completely absent.
Yeah.
And I think a big part of the first act that is, we spend so much time in the family relationship and the relationship between Grant and Raleigh, and then the threat of Grant to Raleigh.
Then I
for
move
him to be completely absent from part 2.
Once we had Adam in the
entirely.
picture, I was concerned about how much it was turning into a boilerplate action movie. And so at every turn where I was like, how are there ways we can get Raleigh into this final confrontation? It was like, oh, Adam has to now like kidnap the kid and bring him to the climax or something like that. And it all felt too comic book. So I'm not saying that it means it can't be done. It just means that I was too far into the structure that I had when I realized I wanted Raleigh to be in the finale or part of the finale. I didn't know how to get there without completely rewriting it. And at that point, like I said, I was at the point where like, I just don't know. I don't know how much more I can do without this conversation.
Something either happens to Cheryl or Cheryl can't come back. And so Courtney?
Oh, Caitlin.
Sorry. Caitlin has no choice but to bring Raleigh to the lab late at night with her.
Okay.
As maybe a way to get him there.
Okay, so hold on. Here's my pitch.
Dalton's
All right.
pitch.
Here's my pitch. Is that we establish in the exposition scene at the end of Act 2 the reason that Grant's merge is taking longer is because he has a son. And that seems like when I read that line, I was like, oh, that's what the rest of our movie is this.
Okay.
I think that you.
Okay, well, sorry. Let's all finish and then, okay. And I'm not going to say anything.
Okay.
I will wait until you're both done.
We also establish earlier that this idea that the love in Grant's brain takes up space. It is measurable. It is a measurable phenomenon, right? And we also talk about, oh, maybe that's just memories and stuff. But I think what we kind of establish here is while Grant's love for his son exists, the merge cannot complete. That it is.
Sarah's laughing as I think that she understood the intent of that line differently. Sarah,
Sorry.
Why is him having a 3-year-old a problem? Why isn't it working the
He's
same
not
way?
sleeping.
He doesn't get nearly as
It's
much
not
sleep,
the
Dalton. It's
love.
all that. That's just me being unclear.
Yes.
The issue is that he's just not getting enough sleep
There
for
was-
it to work.
I like my interpretation better.
You have
Okay.
a cuter interpretation.
Yours is cuter, but one of my big things for this is that even though Caitlin has this romantic view of it, and that's not an invalid view of it, I think I may have even spoken about this in a previous thing. I hate the idea that a character's will and usually love can be a device that can undo if a character gets
can undo science.
Yeah, if a character has a magic spell put on them, and when we've seen other characters in that movie have a magic spell put on them that makes them kill their spouse, but our character is strong enough to get past it. All I can think of is, oh, you just implied that this other person just fucking, I guess, didn't love his wife enough, skill issue. And so for me, the whole thing was just a matter of a consequence of him having this son that he loves is he does not get enough sleep for the procedure to be, for the stuff to get balanced properly in his head. And so it kind of reads as sort of both,
And that's
but there's
why we
a
have that-
practical explanation.
The first scene of him in the pod universe is his son waking him up in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm still interested, Dalton.
Yes,
in
please
your
finish your
alternative
thing.
because
I said I wasn't going to
it
say
does-
anything.
It does read that way, and I think there is an interesting thing to do there.
And I'm fine with that interpretation, but I wanted there to be a literal reason that Raleigh would keep him from his brain coming back together.
Sure, I guess
Why it would take longer. And why maybe as a consequence of him taking longer, he spends more time in his new life before he's fully overwritten. And that makes him want to hang on to it instead of just being like a bad dream or a good dream. Sorry, I said I wasn't going to say anything and then I did. Dalton, because
Now
it's
Dalton's
all
mad.
because Sarah chuckled and I knew that we were on the same wavelength. But
I actually find that, personally, I find that explanation much less plausible because we talk about Adam's finished in a weekend and it has been we established between the two brain scans, it's been 2 months. We're saying that in 2 months, he hasn't gotten enough sleep as one guy in a weekend, one
I'm
single
going to say
guy?
it's quality of sleep. And it was
or I think you need a long stretch.
yeah, something like that. I didn't want to have to do the nuts and bolts
But you've
of it.
done all the legwork of establishing a science. Even if it's movie mumbo jumbo, you did such legwork in the beginning, establishing love in the brain as a measurable quantity that I think then to just be it's sleep, that feels disappointing to me. I feel like what we can do is say the Prime Universe version of Grant has fucking nothing going on.
Mm.
He is miserable. He is just scraping by day to day. He's not contributing anything as he tries to merge in, except just desperation, right? Meanwhile, our Grant has amassed such a powerful purpose in his life that I think we take the more emotional read of that line, which is that it is hard to erase the memory of his son because it takes up so much real estate in his mind that it is who he is. And so that is something that then Adam reports to Kinney, and Kinney is like, we really need to prove that this works. You got to kill the kid. And so Adam's job, because I also don't totally by him needing to kill Caitlin when she works for Kinney.
Mhm.
And like she's still like to kill your one scientist who's like cracking this thing feels rushed.
Okay.
And so especially when it hasn't even like completely finished yet. And so I think instead Adam gets the call being like, we need to make sure that this process works, and not just on you, but like it's repeatable.
Mhm.
Kill the kid and see if that works. Adam goes to kill the kid. There's a scuffle because Caitlin, he goes to their house. Caitlin tries to stop him. Adam's incapacitated. Caitlin's incapacitated. Grant is there. And Adam is like, look, you can't both exist in that head. One, either the prime or the pod has to win out. You can't both be there. And he's appealing to his friend from the prime universe. If you don't kill that kid, you die. You can't go back. You can't go back to the prime universe. That brain is toast.
Mm-hmm.
Either you kill this kid or you get erased. And so Prime Grant now has a reason in order to save his own life to kill this kid that's not his. This kid has not existed to him.
Mm-hmm.
He is just trying to, it is essentially death. It's kind of like in Severance, where like
I was going to say Severance.
In Severance, if an Audi quits, their innie dies, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Like if he essentially dies unless he kills Raleigh.
Yeah, and then that allows us to have the question of like, because we do in the first half of a lot of sort of setting up the threat of this version of Grant could hurt Raleigh in a way that exists when we have that.
And this is the ultimate version of this, where Raleigh's life is now in danger. This is paying off all that setup you did in the first half of Raleigh being endangered by this version of Grant.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're at the peak of that, where this Grant is forced with, do I kill a child who, from my reality, doesn't exist? Like, to me, this is just a construction made by Alter. Like, is it even a real kid to me from the Prime universe? And our pod Grant, who's like, this is my son.
Mm-hmm.
And regardless of how faded that part of my brain is getting, those memories are, they're still there. And you can either do the power of love thing, and the power of love is enough, or we kind of do what we did with Vincent, where Prime Grant is facing down this choice and eventually is like, you know what? I don't really have anything to live for, and you do. Like, all I had over there was this fucking asshole who had me robbing people and killing people, and it made me miserable. And you actually like have a life here. So you know what? It's yours. And he gets eliminated. But somehow our Grant wins over. And then you can still even have that scene at the end, because even if he wins, those memories are gone. And we can still have that touching scene of Caitlin replacing it, or like helping him imagine those memories. If we still want to kill him, we can kill him. He gets injured in the scuffle, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But move the focal point of this not from Adam killing Caitlin, but Adam trying to kill Raleigh, and Grant being the one that is in the middle. I think us making Grant just sort of the hero that's stopping Adam nullifies the conflict we built in the first half. This allows that conflict to be part of the climax. And it is the two parts of him fighting for dominance, and us getting a happy ending with our version winning, even if he dies or whatever, ultimately. And then you can have, all right, the experiment failed, and Kinney goes, well, that experiment failed, and this woman does know too much. We got to get rid of her. And then you can still have your car bomb scene at the end. All of our implications for the universe can be the same. I probably personally would have kept Grant. I think in that version of the ending, it's better if he lives. And I think you're right in this version. If the merge is complete, sure, like he dies, so that like that's almost like it's kind of a hopeful tragic ending. He gets some of his memories rewritten. He is the hero, but he erased the guy, and so cosmically maybe he has to die, kind of thing. But anyway, that is my pitch for the rewritten third act.
May I comment on the pitch?
Yes, please.
So I do like the pitch overall. And I want to be clear, I wasn't laughing at you like, oh, you're wrong or you have the wrong idea about this. I was tickled by you are the person in the room with the least child experience. And so me and Dylan see the line like, I slept it off in a weekend. Guy says, I have a 3-year-old. And we're like, oh boy. Yeah. Because even like one day watching Dylan's kid and I fell asleep on the couch next to each other. Like we were exhausted by each other. And I know that like they don't always get the full night of sleep. So that's why I was laughing. Because like these two people had like a wildly different interpretation of that line than you. I think that,
but again, if it's not clear to everybody who's watching, then what's written there isn't doing the job.
It would probably come through in the reading by the actor, which I was the actor and I had a different reading.
Right.
You know?
So I completely agree that Raleigh's life should be endangered rather than Caitlyn's. As soon as he was like, I have to kill Caitlyn, I was like, no, you don't. So agree there. I don't want it to be a power of love thing because I'm with Dylan. I really hate those almost as much as I hate like Chosen One storylines. And so, yeah, this thing of like, I have nothing to live for, but this version of me does have something to live for. That makes much more sense to me. My big question is a time period one, because clearly this is post pod people.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of very important minds got sent into the pod universe during pod people. And so I think I'm struggling with this idea that they're still testing on nobodies right now.
All right, so this is something that I will further this up because it's something that is potentially lore important for the. So I want to make sure people understand this for as we move forward. So we know about what Alter is doing with the pod people, right?
Yes.
Sending people over. That is their product. That is what they're doing. Caitlyn in the other universe is scooped up by some other operation. They don't have access to her.
Okay.
And she doesn't have access to their people. This is like a pirate operation, basically. Okay. And so she and that's part of why like Alter can't get the information from the Prime Universe version of Caitlyn because she's sequestered out somewhere with that other company, and she doesn't have access to their personnel or their scientists either.
Mm-hmm.
So that is why she has to use not like not like volunteers from this company who are trying to cross over, but like who do I know who I can trust to keep this a secret?
But I get why she would want to figure out the information. But I guess like I don't know why Kinney cares if this test failed.
So
because in the pod universe, he's trying to get pod Caitlyn to recreate it so he can find out what's going on in Prime Universe so that he knows what the competition is, shut it down, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But then if her test fails, I don't know like why he feels any ownership over it or any feeling of like fixing it or.
I do think in some ways to Kinney, their version would seem cleaner because you don't have to deal with duplicate bodies and waiting for one to decay.
Yes.
There are some advantages. My thinking is just like he just wants to understand the entire market.
Okay.
It's not even that he wants that technology. It just wants to know what it can do because
but then if
they have had a shortfall with their base getting blown up in pod people and like they've lost some of their information infrastructure. But again, these are things that are unclear and that I'm now having to clear up just because there won't be another draft that our audience will hear. So,
but I guess also just like I get him wanting to know, but I don't know why he cares when it doesn't work. Like I don't know what attachment he has to this Grant version coming through and being the
You're
Prime
talking
version.
about in my version of the pitch where like
in both
he wants to, I think
in both it feels like Kinney cares far too much about what's going on with Grant. It totally makes sense to me that he has hired Caitlyn, that he's trying to make her redo this stuff, like all of that stuff. But I don't know why he cares about the specific results of Grant's test.
I mean, I think, and maybe this is something that could be made more explicit in a second draft, but like I think to Kinney and the rest of the Alter people that came over from the Prime Universe, these are just guinea pigs to him.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, well, we've got this thing that I know works with Adam. I've seen it work. If we can find it that it reliably works, maybe this is a better version than we can use versus what we're already doing. Or maybe we can find a way to combine them or something.
Mhm.
So I do want to see the experiment through to the end. But it's not even that he's passionate about it. He's just like, well, I don't care if the kid dies and I don't care if Grant dies, but I do want to see if this works so that I can make money off of it.
Yeah, I would
Right,
like this to read as kind of like a side project for Kenny. I wouldn't want. I didn't intend to create the impression this was terribly important to him so much as just like one of the plates he's got spinning.
Yeah. Okay.
And so it's really just a matter of if it works, he'd like to know
Mhm.
because maybe they can reproduce it. But if it doesn't work, that is like one less thing to worry about.
yeah.
And he doesn't really care if people have to die. Like,
No.
that's not a big
'Cause
decision
especially
to him.
this
No,
version of Grant to him
Yeah.
isn't even a real person, right?
Yeah.
We've
But
established
also-
that also doesn't see the people in the pod universe as real.
Yeah.
This is also where like Dylan's problem with like the power of love comes in. Of like other people have kids,
Yeah.
and like that isn't something that can get fixed unless you like kill a kid.
Every time.
Every time
Which
someone comes
people
over.
will notice.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, we either have to assume that Grant is best dad ever, or that this is going to be a consistent problem, or that it's a sleep thing.
Well, or it would be a consistent problem only for people who have a kid in one universe and not the other.
Sure, but how many is that?
And like that is just valuable data, right? It doesn't
Sure.
mean like that, hey, like he can just be like, I want to kill the kid to see if like this is testing a hypothesis. Kill the kid, see if then it finishes. If it does, that tells us, oh, okay, this will
Yes.
work on some people and
A
not
scene of
others.
that
you know?
with your proposed ending would go miles.
Yes.
Yes.
And in this current version, a kind of urgency I wanted to create was the notion that by having taken these sleeping pills, Grant is like, oh, if I ever fall asleep one more time, I might not care anymore what happens to my
Mhm.
family.
Hmm.
I don't know that comes through anymore in what's there.
I did not pick that up.
Okay.
But
See, these are
maybe
all
And I
things
would
where,
like more of that too.
Yeah. I mean, I'm intrigued, especially since I don't have another solo script to write for a while, that maybe it might be a good exercise to try writing the second half of this movie over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's a strong pitch either way.
Mhm. And I think like, yeah, I think really it's just Act 3 that could use some punching up and maybe the end of Act 2. But like, I think everything we did in Part 1 is really, really strong. And the only reason I want to change Act 3 is to better capitalize on all the
Act 1,
good
yeah.
work you did in in Part 1.
But I think it still works as a movie.
Yeah.
Even if we didn't punch up Act 3. It would be a movie that I walk out of with a certain star rating as opposed to a 5-star, you know?
Okay. Well, let's get those numbers up. Let's get to a 5 star. Let's
And
get,
that
let's
certain
get a
star
Sarah.
rating is 1.
No, I'm not going to say it.
This is really no. You can. We're here to
maybe
workshop.
a 3.5.
Yeah. You see, that's fair.
Take a
And
3.5
that's
to a
honestly
4.5.
pretty high for me for a sci-fi movie.
Yeah. See, all right. So I will. So I will let me know in the comments, folks, if you'd like to see what happens with this script while I wait for Dalton to finish Late Adopter, so we can start writing War of the Worlds.
War of the Worlds, yes.
And which I've set up a little bit of things for
Yes,
here.
the predictions were right.
Yes.
Stephanie and Vincent did show up.
It was time for us to start tying these things together.
Yes.
Yeah, that was satisfying.
We're starting to build the team. We also have the possibility of some version of Grant. We've got his memories now uploaded to Alter's computers. My reading of that was like, we could put those in a new body, bring Grant back. I don't know if that was your intention.
Possibilities for now having this theoretically usable save state of Grant's mind from the very end of the story.
Yeah.
Is that opens
Computer
up a lot
Grant.
of options for us. Computer Grant.
Yeah, I think we've got a lot to work with here. I think either way, if you rewrote Act 3, the implications for the universe are the same. Join us on the Discord or somewhere to pitch, what the things you liked. If you thought it was great as is, if you have a different idea for how Act 3 could bring those things together. Join us on Patreon, patreon.com/Dylan and Dalton. You can start a 7-day free trial.
You can leave comments on there too. We love to see those comments. We'd love to have the conversations on social media and stuff like that. And Discord is obviously our favorite place because you can join it for $5 a month and it really helps us out. But also, if that's not in your budget, YouTube comments are great. We love to see those, and they're also helpful for getting the show seen by more people. By the way, you can hit the hype button underneath the video. That also, if everybody does that, might help to increase our visibility on the show. We'd love to see that.
Want to say, so next week, a week from today, we're going to have an episode of the bonus pod where we do a studio mandate of the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
Then the week after that, we will have another guest episode.
And then 2 weeks after that will be late adopters, which will be a much lighter pitch.
Much lighter. And so so now just a quick moment to thank all of our patrons. First of all, thank you, Sarah, again, for joining us here. It's always great to have you in the cast.
Camera C.
Big thanks to our executive producers. These are the patrons who contribute at $15 a month to our show and get themselves a little shout out and everything we record while they're at that tier. Thank you, Brent Dreyer, Brian Egan, Denim Mudslide, Diana, Jonathan Morgantini, Caleb McFarland, Mark Schmidt, Matt Thackeray, Mac Lee Whiplash, Speep Tucker, and Weiss Belladonna. And thank you to our studio executives, who we just explained what their deal is. They are Bill French, Beerus, Brandon Bullock, Dracatella, Jasper Stark, Joe Valiant, Cadle, all three of us together. Moose! Serpenthrop, Sunmot. Sarah doesn't know about Moose. And Serpenthrop, Sunmot, and the Wayfinder. We will see you next time. And until then, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Moose. Moose.